Welcome back to another Seattle House Mafia industry interview. I'm Phil, your host, and in this episode, we sit down with Jeremy Linden, aka Mr. Linden. We talk about his early inspirations in dance music and what got him excited in the first place. We spend some time talking about his current projects, both as a DJ and as a producer. And lastly, most important, we have a real direct conversation about where he thinks the dance music scene should go in Seattle and where he should be, both as a DJ and producer going forward. Be sure to stick around to the end where Jeremy walks us through some quintessential albums that have inspired him along the way. And stay tuned for a top-notch mix that consists of both digital and vinyl from Mr. Linden. To keep up on all things Seattle House Mafia, be sure to like and subscribe. For now, sit back, enjoy the show.
Seattle House Mafia.
Welcome to another episode of Seattle House Mafia's Industry Interviews. I am Phil, your host. Our guest today is an Alaska-born raver who actualized his early DJ dream getting involved in college radio. In '98, he made the move to Seattle and embedded himself in the local dance music scene. He officially started DJing in 2009, but really kicked things into gear in 2015 when he started playing larger Seattle venues. He is a train car house party resident, the creative director at Underscore, and a resident DJ at Soft Option. Most importantly, he is a devoted husband and cat dad. Please welcome Jeremy Linden, aka Mr. Linden. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Welcome to the studio.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a while. We've been trying to get this thing on the books. It is actually, I was laughing to my wife because I was saying it's going to be so nice to talk to you where we're not yelling in each other's ears.
Dude.
I think those are the only conversations we've had is at clubs.
Yeah, and what's funny is I feel like I'm that way with a majority of people in the scene. Like there's only a handful of people who I've actually had like conversations with, and so this should be interesting, especially for people who may not. I
mean, I might not
like,
even
know.
Yeah, like I don't even know if I really like you at this point.
Chances are you don't.
Probably. But hey, speaking of, what I'd like to address first is the elephant in the room, if you're cool with that.
Okay.
What's up with you and cats?
Dude, I think that it's probably toxic plasmosis, because they're like, it's that weird parasite that like latches on and makes you like really like cats
and really ride motorcycles fast and do crazy shit, right?
And so like I'm like, I don't know. I've always liked cats, and my wife and I we're on our second set of 3. And we also have like 4 outdoor cats that we're taking care of.
Yeah, you got like a family of like ferals.
Yeah,
you guys,
and they're awesome. I love them so much.
That's so.
I even like the way they smell. How weird is that?
It's not.
I would pick them up and they smell like the outdoors, and you're just like, oh, it's so cute.
That's pretty funny. So you have 3 indoor cats and 4 feral cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the feral cats, it's a community thing. Like our neighbors, we all take care of them.
And there was a rumor, I don't remember where I saw this, but we had a very cold winter, a little winter snap, and I think you actually potentially sacrificed your freezing pipes to keep your feral cats warm. I remember there was a post or something, right? And see, I'm such a stalker, dude. That's my phone.
It's what we did. No regrets.
Listen, man, I think regardless of the animal of choice, like animal lovers go a long way with me.
And I don't, it's not like I don't not like dogs. I like dogs just fine. I'm slightly allergic, not like really bad, but I've always like played with them on the ground and stuff. Like I'll be the guy who I'll sit there and I'll play with the dogs and then just break out and have to go wash.
Yep.
So
I've rescued several dogs, and I had Shar-Peis, and I was always allergic to the males. Like something about the male, the chemistry. But yeah, I'd break out on my forearms all the time.
Creepy, oily.
Yep,
wrinkles.
Exactly. Well, before we get off the cat subject, I wanted to share this. This was like very, very near and dear to all the Seattle House Mafia hearts. But this was our train car house party flyer that you actually did, right?
Yep.
Which was the conpering, which it was funny because I think either people like totally got it and thought it was hilarious, or people were like my wife was kind of like, what the fuck does that mean?
It was a Halloween show, And I thought The Conjuring, and then haha, the con purring, and then I made this like cat kaiju, in the background, and then the three figures that are representing you guys, they all have cats in their laps and stuff.
I know, it's so good. I'll show it one more time. And actually, Paul, it's funny, my question, I was doing in jest, but Paul kind of said, "Hey man, what's up with that dude in cats?" I was like, he likes cats, man.
Nah, I like cats. And then I will also wear cat t-shirts frequently when I DJ.
Yeah.
And my sort of logic behind that is that I like to have people second guess. They're like, what the, like I have my DJ bag is a pink, like unicorn.
Sure.
Lunchbox. And I love just this sort of moment of like, who the hell is this guy? But then I try to melt faces and really DJ with aplomb,
No. And that was the other thing, right? Like all joking aside, one of the things that, for me, that's important to bring people in here, because it is a labor of love, right? It's the theme with every guest that I've had is they just give a shit about music, right? And that's super important to me because I give a shit about music. Sangdo and Paul give a shit about music. Like we really are truly at our core music lovers, and I love to bring people in that I know at their core are absolute music lovers. Right. Yeah. I mean, I could tell the first time I met you, and I was like, oh yeah, dude.
And it's funny, you get asked stuff like, oh, what's your favorite song? And
what day, what time, what mood,
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, totally. I'm in the same boat, man. I get hooked on a little song for a while, or then I'll go back and revisit something. Yeah, but it's an impossible question for me.
Anyway.
I mean, well, on that note, right? What got you into music? Was it a household thing? How did you find it?
My earliest recollections of music are definitely with my mom. My mom had me when she was pretty young. So my first memories are probably I was like 3 or 4. So she would have been like 19, 20, somewhere in there.
This is in Alaska.
Yeah, this is in Alaska in the late 70s. And my earliest memories are the Grease soundtrack and Rumors and the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
Yeah.
So those are some of my earliest musical, this car is hydromatic. I remember that shit. Like I was a kid and I would slide down the chair acting like I was sliding down the roof there, the hood of the car,
That album was so good. We had it too.
Yeah.
And we wore that shit out.
When you hear, it's so funny because when you hear when I hear the strains of Frankie Valli, Grease is the word, there's just something about the soaring, like the chord progression and everything. It just gives me goosebumps every single time. And I've been hearing it for, almost 50 years now. It's like, I don't know. So early on it was that. And then, when I got older, we were in a church that was like, it was kind of a weird religion, and I had a little bit more restriction. I could only listen to AM radio, and so like I actually got into classical, because that's what I could listen to like the most, and so I listened to a lot of classical, and I actually really like classical. And then but then this was in the early 80s, and I remember hearing DeBarge, The Rhythm of the Night, and it's on AM. It sounds like shit, but again, chord progression and like something about the energy and stuff. I just really love that. And then finally, when I got older and I was able to listen to FM radio, and I really got heavy into pop music and just top 40 and the late 80s, you going through puberty, and there's this whole thing that happens with music imprinting itself on you. So, when you're like 12 and 13, you hear those songs. I hear music from 1987 and I'm right back there having crushes on girls and stuff. It was just, and so just having all that growing up. And then as I came into my more formative years, I started like in the late 80s, I started finding Information Society, and Erasure and the more dancey underground, quote unquote underground stuff, and it's just sort of a progression from there.
Yeah. So no, that makes sense. And then what brought you? I think I understand your journey is not that different from music, besides being restricted to AM radio, which is pretty wild.
But that was early on,
Yeah. But then what brought you to Seattle, 98, right?
Yeah. So, after high school, so in the 80s, me and my buddies we'd always made like radio tapes. And we really liked this idea of being on the radio, or being disc jockeys,
Got it.
Not DJs, but disc jockeys.
Where you're actually announcing the song
right. And so I actually did a stint in college radio and all that in the 90s
in Alaska.
Got it. And went to raves. The rave scene actually was somewhat healthy there, and we had these big disused bunkers that they would have these massive raves in. And it would like Vitamin D came, and like there was some pretty cool some pretty cool things were happening back then. But then so my wife and I have been together since 94, and she
congrats, by the way,
was a tattooer, or she was learning how to tattoo when we first got together, and then was with the same company, and basically what happened was they decided to move down here from Alaska, and at the time I was working at like Kinko's, and so it was pretty easy for me to just transfer.
Right.
And so we moved down here. It was like next adventure.
Got it.
And so we got down here at the end of 98 and moved to Bothell of all places, because we didn't know, so we were like, we just found a place, and then they ended up opening the shop in Bremerton. And so after about 6 months or so, we moved to Bremerton.
Yeah, because that's like not a fun commute, right? Like,
right? No. And for a while, actually, Carrie would stay there for like 5 days, and then come back to Bothell on the weekends. So after a little while of that, it was just like me. And so I was able to transfer again with Kinko's to Silverdale. So
got it. So I have to ask, is some of your artwork that you're wearing, is that your wife's work?
So this whole arm is Carrie.
I was going to compliment. I've never seen, I don't think I've ever seen your arms exposed.
Yeah.
Dope. It's very meta, because you're sitting here with your wife's artwork, and we're sitting in my room with my wife's artwork, which is super, super fun. No, but that's great, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. And she's still tattooing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. She has a shop in Soto.
Well, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you did the rave thing in Alaska for a while. So I would imagine that sort of twisted your head a little bit. I know it did to me and pretty much everybody else, whoever was introduced to raves.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you go from butt rock and just sort of like that late 80s, I don't even know. It's like you go from the top 40, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's this new sound. And my buddy he gave me a compilation CD in our junior year called Rave 92.
Yep.
And it came around the same time as Rave Till Dawn. It had some of the same tracks on it as Rave Till Dawn did. But it like had The Orb, it had Utah Saints, and Messiah and all that stuff. And when I first saw a rave flyer, I was like, oh, okay, so this is that kind of music. I'm like, oh, I need to go to this. So me and my cousin, it's so hilarious. The first rave I went to was at a Fred Astaire dance studios. So it was like an upstairs dance studio in Alaska.
Nice
right?
wood floors.
Just
and the whole thing.
Yeah, and just a big room. And my cousin and I were all like, oh, what are we going to wear? And so we went and bought like some Army surplus trench coats. And I had on like a mock turtleneck and long plaid shorts. And I think I had like combat boot sort of thing going on, classic 90s curly hair with and then you roll in and you smell the clove cigarettes and you go up and like nobody's dancing. they're all standing along the edges, and it's the banging the Prodigy, and you're just like, this is awesome.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, if you can find that picture, we'll make it one of your thumbnails. That would be pretty great. That's a nice
I don't think
outfit.
we got a picture of that one. I do have this hilarious picture though of me it's just a random picture in the crowd at a rave, and I'm like standing there, like I was dancing. However, I danced. There's a picture of me at Monkey Loft, exact same pose, everything is hilarious.
Like 30 years later.
It is so funny
Yeah.
because like everything about it, I was just like, boy, I'm just consistent, aren't I?
Well, so you were attracted to the proper radio DJ thing. Was there this conscious shift where you're like, oh, that's the kind of DJ I want to be once you started going to raves?
Yeah.
Like, that guy's not talking. That guy is just destroying the room right now.
That's exactly, after going to multiple raves, I was like, okay, actually, I like the radio thing, but I want to do this.
That's the shit I want to do.
Yeah. And I had after being on the radio for a little while, I was able to get a special show. And so I did a techno show. I did a techno, trance, ambient, and we would start with like ambient music and then go into sort of more trancey stuff and then housey and then techno and then gab. We'd end with like hardcore gabber,
Nice.
bang, 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 just a hard style stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. Like I still have recordings of it and didn't mix. We would try to overlap, but the CD players were not variable speed. And so it was like, we were train wrecking all over the place, but it was still just like, it was like heaven.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that was so funny. One thing I wanted to go back to, you mentioned getting goosebumps whenever you hear that. It was the chord progression in certain tracks. Mm-hmm. I read a study, and I need to find it, but there is a very small minority part of the population that gets goosebumps based on audio. And I'm one of those as well. Yeah. And I think a lot of the people that I know and spend time with musically are those people. But I've talked to people like in my straight job, my office job, like, what are you talking about? You get goosebumps when you hear a song or a part of a song. It's like who knows if it's an evolutionary advantage or disadvantage. I don't know. Maybe I'd be killed by a saber-toothed tiger or something, so I'd be too lost in
something like that. Or like it would scream at you and you'd be like, oh,
it's nice. I get goosebumps.
Oh, it's a kitty. That'd be me.
Cats,
I'd be like, oh, kitty.
Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. I got to find that study again, but it was pretty fascinating because I had just naively assumed that music affects everybody on some level that way, and everybody gets goosebumps. It's not true. Like there's a lot of people that don't get goosebumps when they hear certain shit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. You're missing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard the more the further into the journey of as being a DJ and stuff. There's times when I'm like, am I getting jaded? Like, have I broken this down too far to where I'm not as excited about this music as I used to be? But then you hear that track and you have it blending with the other track and you're just like, nope, still there.
Yep. Yeah. I remember one of the early conversations I had with John Lee, we were talking about like one of the things that happened to me, and it didn't quite happen the same for John, but he related was when I first learned to DJ, I had no idea what I was doing. Right. I had no idea to listen to the one or, and I kind of had to, I saw music as like this sort of holistic, magical thing, like a song. And then all of a sudden I was breaking it into Lego pieces so I could mix it with another. And for a brief time, it removed the magic for me.
Yeah.
But then I came out the other side, like almost more informed and more into it. But it was never again this ethereal cloud of one singular thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you go through something similar when you started to figure out how to match beats?
A little bit, yeah. Because there's also a subset of humans who like they have a synesthesia of it. They see it too.
Yep.
I've never like seen music, but when you close your eyes and listen to it, there's definitely a visual element in my mind of what the music was, and that has morphed over time into, especially once you start messing around with production, you start seeing kicks and snares, and it's like really hard not to, and it's kind of a bummer, but you just have to sort of roll with it. It's kind of like tinnitus. Like you just, this is what it is now.
Part of the program.
Yeah.
And then, but also you're heavily into, the other thing I liked about you when I met you is you're like passionate about good sound too. Not just music, right? But like the actual sound system, which in my opinion, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, the focus, I keep kind of hearkening back to these videos where these old school DJs are saying like the sound system is as important as the talent.
Yep.
But that's not really the case today in most scenarios, right?
Nope.
But the one thing I liked about you is you know a shit ton about sound too. Like where did you pick that up?
I would, and to be fair, I don't think that I know that much about it.
You sound like you do,
but
at least. You got me fooled.
I have at least a working knowledge of some of the stuff. And I also, it's like, when it doesn't sound good,
Oh, that's for sure.
and so you run into a situation where something doesn't sound good and you start thinking about why doesn't it sound good. And and it's, for me, it's just like a logical sort of breakdown of what it is. As a kid, I always liked stereos. My mom had like a 70s sound system, with some big wood speakers, and I actually really enjoyed setting them up right next to my head and not playing them loud, but just finding that sweet spot and just being in that sweet spot of some stereo speakers from the 70s is like heaven. There's this weird like humming that happens and it just sounds really good, right? And why would you not want to have something similar for your dancers? Like the Seattle does not have traditionally very good sound systems, and it's pretty frustrating because it doesn't take much to make it, to make it work. Like what I do with Train Car is, we set it up a specific way, and then I started pulling an EQ and just doing some minor EQ adjustments, and it worked. It's such a small thing, but it makes such a huge difference on how tired your ears get, because all I'm really doing is just like dipping a few high frequencies and then maybe lifting up a little bit some higher frequencies, and then it just all of a sudden sounds better. And so how about we just take a little time to listen to just stand in the middle and listen and make sure that it sounds okay. It's really frustrating especially when you have larger sound systems that are expensive and you just know, like, I don't know enough to be able to be like, this is wrong and this is why, because I don't know that much, but I do know enough to be like, this should sound a little bit better. Like, it could sound better than this, right? I mean, like, this doesn't sound that good.
I know how much that costs, and it should sound what? Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, is the problem, and maybe we won't solve this today, maybe we will. My sense is always the problem kind of with certain venues and or venue owners or promoters who bring in a sound system is maybe they have a cousin or maybe they have somebody who they know who's like told them what to buy and they bought it, and then they're kind of winging it on the setup when ideally you bring somebody in who understands the room, who understands what the room's going to sound like, whether there's nobody or whether there's packed with bodies, who spaces out. There's
that. And also I think that there's a group of their owners also don't care enough, or they think it's fine,
right? And
if it's fine, you're not going to get them to spend the money. And I don't have specifics. I'm not like talking shit about anybody whatsoever.
I see things a lot on social media about people complaining about sound in certain venues, certain nights, right?
Like one of my favorite, like to this day, is, so I had a night at the Timber Room for quite a while.
Okay.
Me and the underscore folks, me and Hector and Mindy had Back of the House, and it was at the Timber Room, and I actually really love the sound in the Timber Room. It is a tiny room. But it sounds so good. You could be standing right in front of the speakers, and it's not exhausting. It's not too loud, and it just sounds super good because they have a good sound system. The sound guy knows it changes, so the sound people know what they are doing. But it's such a rare thing in Seattle to have that kind of quality, and then to have it in such a small room is kind of a bummer because not very many people experience it. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I think we should go into that a little bit. I think is it indicative of other sort of larger issues with just sort of the club scene in general?
I think
apathy around the sound systems.
Well, one thing I noticed, and this has been a complaint of mine ever since I moved here, is that a lot of places in Seattle, they have an idea and they just kind of half-ass it.
Yeah.
Like they don't go all in. And I'm like, if you're going to have a theme restaurant or a theme bar, do it. Don't do it so we're sort of like, oh, it's kind of, And so there, one of the big bars up in Alaska is called Chilkoot Charlie's.
I've been there.
And that bar goes in. It is douchey and it's a shit show. And it's not like, there's tons of complaints. But at the same time, that place is Chilkoot Charlie's.
Yeah.
And it is 100% Chilkoot Charlie's.
That's in like downtown Anchorage, right? Like,
Midtown.
Midtown. Yeah, I used to go there all the time because I used to travel up there for business.
Yeah.
I worked with the university up there. And,
it's great.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
And coming down here, I started going to bars and I'm just like, they tend to be this sort of corporate, sort of like, just watered down idea of a place. And even like, I'll do it.
Do it.
Even like Supernova, it could have been so much cooler than it actually was, because it was only part way there.
Right.
Like it's like, I know when I get involved in a project, I'm all in. I'm like, yeah. And then halfway through it, I just start to lose steam. And then when I'm almost done, I'm like, I'm going to find a different project. I feel like that's what happens to bars, is people like, they're almost there. And then it just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've even seen that with, I've even seen it with music programming. Sangdo and I were talking about this, how there used to be this pattern where they'd start with like, sort of, and I got booked for a lot of these gigs where it'd be sort of swanky down tempo in the dinner hour, and you kind of get up into deep house and then a little bit more jacking, and you just kind of ride the night, maybe do a little Latin, and then all of a sudden they'd be like, we're going to do hip hop now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would be popping off for 2 weeks and then gone.
Yeah. It's because people, they don't have the patience.
Right.
And it's, it's funny because it's like the patience is one of those things that you don't necessarily consider half the time. When some of my favorite DJ sets, listening to other people DJ, I'm like, why do I like this so much? And then I realize, it's because they're being patient.
Yeah.
They're letting this track breathe. They're and the mix is long and it's mature.
They're letting you experience a nuance, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's not like, on to the next thing, or now we're going to play hip hop, or, whatever.
Yep.
And, and if you're going to play hip hop, do it, but do it well. Don't play the same 6 songs. Don't play fucking, this is how we do it. Going into, it's getting hot in here. And then my boo, like how about we play hip hop,
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I'm with
opinions. I have opinions.
I want opinions because it's it's equal parts like sort of I'm sort of exercising my own opinions by talking to different folks with different views on stuff, and there's a lot of similar themes that go on, and a lot of it does seem to kind of go back to the venue owners, sometimes the promoters, like just I had a conversation, I'm not going to tell you who with, about a certain club that I'm not going to tell you who said, they said to me, Phil, can you go talk to this owner and tell them to get more subs? I'm like, why me? And they were like, because I can't do it. You don't work
Right.
with them like I do. I was like, probably not. I mean, I'm just going to be a dick if I walk in and you don't know me from Adam and I tell you need more subs.
Yeah. And I've had conversations like that. And the way that I try to do it is more like a more subtle, like you can't just be like, this is what you need to do.
Right.
You have to be like, have you ever considered, or man, what would be really cool?
Totally.
It's like you totally have to, it's super manipulative, but sometimes it's how you get shit done,
Listen, when you take an analytic approach to an emotional person or an emotional topic, there's just instantly a mismatch, right? And they're just going to dig their heels in.
Totally.
So you have to be. I'm in sales. You have to be a little bit.
You can't insult. And that's the other thing is, and I want people to understand that to anyone who's listening right now who's hearing me have this conversation, I want it to be better. Yeah. Like it's not an insult. It's not a this is shit. And it's like, no, I see the potential.
Right.
And I want that potential. I want Seattle to live up to its potential, and its potential is fucking massive.
Dude, there's so much good music coming out of here that's being produced. I mean, even with Underscore, right? Like Hector, Mindy, like, and it just goes across the board. There's so much good music being produced. The DJs here are pretty fucking next level,
dude.
Like when I go to listen to other DJs, I'm like, or even headliners when I'm in a different town, I'm just like,
I maintain that it's very, very few headliners that come in won't get shit on by our locals.
Totally.
Oftentimes.
Totally.
I mean, luckily a majority of the locals who are going to be right up next to them understand what's going on.
They got to dim their light a little bit.
And they don't go all in, you know?
Yep.
But, and also I've seen headliners that just blew me away.
Totally.
Like, Jesus. You know.
But I know what you mean, right? Like a good local is there's a certain respect that they bring and a certain intelligence that they bring, and they're not going to wear the crowd out before. And
right.
we do have there's that kind of emotional EQ here in Seattle too, when it comes to that.
But, you know, and it also depends on like I said, it depends on the headliner, because I've seen newer headliners where you're like, I just actually don't have very much respect for you, dude, because you're really new and you're not that good.
Right.
And it's like kind of sad. And so it's like, oh, maybe I will flex a little bit, you know, but most of the headliners I'm talking about are like old heads who just were like DJ Spen. He blew me away. Like I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like it was so good.
Yeah.
And beyond what I had understood him to be. Like I had been paying attention to him since the pandemic. Like with his online presence, you know, and watching him live, I was just like, okay. Yeah, I need to go practice.
Yeah, totally. I love those moments though, where you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and then you see a Spen.
Yeah.
Or I saw DJ Shadow. I was like, oh boy, like this dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not even my style necessarily, but I love him. But I was just the things he was doing and the way he was doing it, I was just like,
yeah. And you know, with Spen, it's funny because you know there's the whole argument about sync or not and all this stuff, and it's all bullshit. But Spen used sync, but he was using 4 decks and he was doing percussion and doing all this crazy shit. And it's like, that's how you use sync. Like if you're going to use sync, use sync. If you're just mixing A to B, whatever. If you can't do it, use sync, please.
Yeah.
But like, I would never shit on him for doing it because it was like so beyond awesome.
Yeah, it is funny that whole sync thing. But I know what you mean. Like those guys, there's certain guys who will take the technology and they'll really push it. They'll really max it.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
If you're going to use the technology, use the technology.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talk to me. You mentioned Train Car, and I know one of the things that's coming, Train Car House Party technically, which is for the folks that don't know. And if you don't know, I'm sorry, but you should know. But it's at the Orient Express, right?
Correct.
It is an old train car. I don't fully know the history, but
it's FDR's train from his whistle stop.
Oh, that's right. Matt told me that. That's right. Wild. So you guys have been doing this for 12 years. I know you haven't been involved for 12, have you?
No, I've only been technically involved since COVID.
Because it seemed like there was some different crews within the crews that were like, what was the structure of how that was all run?
The main thing was for a majority of the time it was Aaron O'Connor Drew was the primary person.
Yep.
Brian Jarr is the one who started it with Patrick Hernandez back in 2012.
Got it.
And Aaron came on like 1 or 2 in, and then so she's been with it. She had been with it for the longest amount of time, and then I'm not sure exactly when Jason Melton came on board, but when I first found Train Car House Party, it was Aaron and Melton were the main two.
Okay.
And then Melton was leaving, and so they asked if I wanted to come on. And then that's right when the pandemic was happening. So then it was like, well, luckily I know how to stream. So
Right.
so we just sort of started doing streaming too.
Okay. Is Aaron still and Brian still involved in like the big decision stuff, or like who decided that you were retiring Train Car?
That was mostly from me. I checked in with everyone first to
Got
make
it.
sure how they felt about it, and everyone pretty much agreed that while it sucks, it's probably the right thing to do. The main reason why I came to this decision was that our numbers post-COVID have just been going down.
Yeah.
And it's disheartening to see, and I know that like maybe someone could come in and start doing social media stuff and make it turn it around, but that's not going to happen with us. And most of the people who were coming to Train Car every month don't go out as much anymore. And so the way I see it is that there's sort of a changing of the guard when it comes to the nightlife. It always is. Nightlife is always going to be a younger person's game because you have new people coming in. And I thought it would be best to give an end date and celebrate it rather than let it peter out and die.
Yeah.
And so after discussing it with everyone, pretty much everyone agreed, or at least they told me they agreed. And I hope so.
Yeah.
And while it sucks, it's kind of the harsh reality of the changing scene in Seattle. You
Right.
know, it's you go out and, you know, I've talked to like Brian, the owner of Monkey Loft, and he's like, yeah, you know, these nights that you would go on a Saturday to Monkey Loft and you would always see this core group of fam, right? And they just don't come out as much anymore. And it's not no shade on them. It's people's lives change.
Sure.
People, you know, but it is kind of a bummer because it was such a tight knit community. And, but it's what happens, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing is kind of the natural evolution, but would there be anything that you would change if that were, if Jeremy were overseen and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what would,
Which
well,
one? Which
I think so. As
Train Car or like the scene?
both,
Oh,
right?
God.
So both. Like I think there's like the Train Car specific,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I noticed there are crews throwing parties at the venue now,
Yeah.
and it seemed like that almost opened up even more. Right around the time you guys announced, there seemed like other folks were stepping in to do different nights there.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of it's a bit of a sore subject. Not the current folks, because, you know, we announced it and so whatever. And,
Right.
You know, I've talked to people and I'm like, I don't care. You know, but I really think that the downfall started when the night got diluted because of Supernova coming in.
Oh,
Because
so they came in and did something.
Supernova initially came in and they sort of almost call it Train Car House Party, you know?
Didn't they call like house party in a train car or something?
Something like that. And you know, and then they changed it, but then they booked every other night except for ours. So it was then that Saturday night was then diluted.
I see.
And to this day, people don't understand the difference. And it's kind of frustrating because it's like they are such different IPs.
Right.
And having, you know, having people say, "Oh no, I went to Train Car, blah blah blah," and they, you know, they had all these disco balls and like drag queens and stuff. It's like, no, you didn't go to Train Car. You went to Supernova, or, you know, you went to, you know,
Right.
Staying Alive. That's what it's
Yeah.
Staying Alive. And then now, you know, I run the Train Car Facebook page, and we get tagged. I'm at Train Car House Party, and they're like, no, you're not.
Oh, I see.
You're at fucking, you know, a techno show on a Friday. It's like, it's almost like Train Car became Kleenex.
Totally. That's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, you guys are the Kleenex, and yeah.
And unfortunately, it dilutes our ability to control it. And
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because, I maintain that one of my most favorite DJ nights of all time was the first time playing a train car, because it was packed.
Yeah.
And I was nervous, and it was like everything about it was like, it was just so, the energy of having that room pointed right at you as a DJ.
Yeah.
And they're on your level.
Yeah.
And they're going at it. There's nothing like it. And it's awesome. I love it. And nobody's going to experience that.
Right.
Because it's not going to happen anymore, in my opinion. I mean, not saying I'm not saying that I'm cursing the other nights to never work.
No, I know what you mean.
But it's a very specific vibe, because it's the music too. Because train car has a sound.
Yep.
It is slightly to the left of like the flammable sound. Flammable has a sound. Train car is a little bit more jacking, and it's just like it's so good when it's popping off.
Yep.
So it's unfortunate that people aren't going to experience that.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they will. They got 4 more chances.
Right.
And we want to pack it out.
Yep.
It's a free party, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I know. I'll be at the next one for sure. Like, that's happening Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the
Board of Deacons.
Yeah, which I've always wanted to see those guys all together. So that's going to be
good. Riz and Joey and Almond and Devlin. And it's going to be great.
Yeah. That was a good call. So, yeah, it's like, as you get older, right? The only thing that is constant is change when it comes to this stuff, as much as we want to hold on.
Totally.
And so it's, so going to that more macro picture of the scene in general, I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but are there changes that you see that are good, that aren't good, things that you would do differently if you had the magic wand?
I mean, they're probably not. I feel like the pandemic just really hastened what was already happening.
Okay.
And people who were already probably nearing the far end of their clubbing careers.
Yeah.
You see the light of like mortality, and you're like, maybe I should start paying attention to some other stuff. So that, and then it was an interesting thing, because you watch, there's groups that threw Renegades and stuff during the pandemic, and younger kids, and they now have tentpole nights, that are happening, and it's great to see the energy and stuff. I do wish that there was a little bit more of a chance to sort of foster them and help them understand at least what could be, as far as like the way we did it. But I also understand that is not their journey, and I can't make we don't. It's not up to us to be like, this is how you need to party,
right?
But but at the same time, we've been doing it for so long, and there's good things and bad things you need to watch out for, and like there's respect levels and stuff. But then the kids all have their own zeitgeist of how they are going through life,
right?
And so it's
their
like,
own codes. I get you.
So it's like that's me basically saying that I wish that we could be this way, but I also understand that it's probably best if it's not.
Right.
We don't want to be boomers.
Right. Totally.
We don't want people to be like, okay, Gen X.
Yeah, totally.
No, we're cool, I swear.
Well, I mean, so the other side of that, though, is I do see folks that are older that were involved. They're coming back around too, which is pretty cool. So you have this weird convergence of the new young guns who are doing things, and then actually some old guns that are coming back. They've, they took a nap beforehand. Maybe
right. And then you got
a nice dinner.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. And it's, then you got people like me who are just kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now what?
Where's my home?
Yeah. Like what? Because pretty much I get booked a lot. I can't really complain that much,
right.
but most of the things that I do are things that I am directly involved in. So I don't get booked outside of my own thing very often.
Yeah.
And you know, it's tough because I don't want to be I don't want to be a tryhard, you know, or I don't want to be like I don't like chasing.
Sure.
I don't like asking.
Right.
You know, I want to be asked, which is kind of it's kind of bullshit. I understand, but like it's my desire to be asked is like I want to be seen as I'm someone who is a good DJ and will provide, you know, a good service, and I think that this will be right. And when you have to chase it, it's a little more like, no, I swear I'm going to be good. You know? It's like
totally. No, I hear you. It's funny. You get into that ask mode, and then it feels a little bit like you're pulling favors and just, and it feels disingenuous, right? You want to be wanted for what you bring as a product, Mr. Linden.
Right.
You know, whatever I'm doing over here, I can do over there, and I know there's a nuance this night, so I can tweak it. You know, like I think that's where that skill set is not necessarily valued like it should be.
Right. And that's what you see with the younger,
right.
A lot of the younger kids, they come in and they do the thing.
Yeah.
And and it's like, you know, you're playing fucking deep Molly, you know, festival night music.
Right.
You know, at a Jack and House night.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know.
It was funny. There was a Facebook post a while back where people were like, if you could, and there's a lot of young kids involved, but it was like, if you could play any other sort of sound than what you play today, what would it be? And like I chimed in, I'm like, oh man, I'd love to do hip hop. I'd love to get into some acid jazz. I'd love to do some drum and bass. But these kids were like, I'd like to do a little less minimal vocal and maybe a little more. And like they were talking in margins like this, I was talking like
right
like
genre, like
full genre.
Let's go classical, bitch.
I was like, oh, I think I'm missing the whole point of, or somebody was missed the bus. I just checked myself out.
Anybody want to hear some Mozart?
Totally. You brought some records, which I love, by the way, because I will tell you, Sherman has done vinyl.
Yeah.
Here. Trent played on turntables, but he was using Serato, but he's a fucking wizard. So do what,
so whatever,
right? Like, I just love anybody who wants to use turntables, and you're going to do at least part of your set is going to be some vinyl, but you also brought some, it looks like some stuff that you're probably not going to play.
Right.
What do you got there?
Well, I feel like you could learn a lot from people's like selections, and these are just ones that I randomly grabbed. I mean, not randomly. I
thoughtfully
decided last minute to grab them.
Right.
And these are all like kind of, like I keep using the word tentpole. They're like tentpole, like, albums and stuff in my career or in my journey of music. And, like I could just go through them really quick and just
Sure,
say why. Like, so Information Society, this was like the first maxi cassette I ever bought, and I was like, oh, there's remixes, and this is like I started learning about remixes.
So funny enough, I actually got goosebumps when I grabbed that record from you. When I looked, I was like,
this logo, like I would draw it all the time. I was a big nerd about it because Information Society was dope. Let's see, these are later. Yellow. I found Yellow. I was trying to find my Stella album, but this 1 second is pretty good too. This, you know, these are the guys who did Oh Yeah, but they actually probably are what initially got me kind of hooked on ambient music,
right?
Because they have tracks that are just ambient, and they were so awesome and weird. It was just weird,
yeah. And
it was so different from anything else in the '80s. And Yellow are like they're just gods among, you know, men when it comes. It's so weird because they're almost cheesy, or they are cheesy,
right?
I don't know. There's something about them though, but they're so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Future Sound of London, Life Forms. This is. I paid way too much for this album.
Who cares, dude? Who cares? Sometimes you can't put a price on that.
This
album.
one, dude. have you ever taken a bunch of mushrooms and listened to Future Sound of London life forms? Like, it's so good. I used them in my KEXP, mix. I used to go to sleep to the Twin Peaks soundtrack on tape. I had the original and then the movie, and I would put them on my dual cassette and have it so it would be like one and then the other, and I would just go to sleep. Same thing with The Cure mixed up.
So good. Like my first marijuana experiences were listening to The Cure mixed up, and it's still kind of like, I'm not a big weed guy, but I had some kind of horrific but it's such a good fucking record. Yeah. But it's like light and dark at the same time whenever I listen to it.
Yeah, and I would go to sleep to that, and it was a double cassette, and so it would. Paul Simon Graceland is one of the best albums of all time. I don't care who you are, this album rules. And then, oddly enough, they must have had the same designer or something. But Erasure the Innocents, this was my first
so good,
my first exposure to Erasure. And I just like the Vince Neil is just like the way the fact that they were doing this with analog synth and the entire time up until the it was their album Cowboy was the first one where they went digital. Everything before that was all analog, and that just blows me away.
Yeah. Incredible.
Second toughest in the Infants.
I don't know that one.
Is Underworld.
Oh, okay.
This is the one that has Born Slippy on it. So good. It's a good one. This Nightmares on Wax
changed my life, man.
So, dude, the intro.
Carboot Soul changed my life.
The intro with the little roads. Oh.
That also changed my life.
Violator, man. Because I knew about Depeche Mode, but when Violator came, Personal Jesus and Enjoy the Silence, it was just like a whole different. And this also, like, I have all their maxi cassettes. Like, I had all their maxi cassettes. Now I have all their CDs, but like, so good.
That's in my top. Honestly, like, Depeche Mode Violator is probably somewhere in my top 10.
Oh, for sure.
If I have to.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I know how hard it is, but that is like. There's
most of these are in my top 10.
Yeah.
Sneaker Pimps, Becoming X.
Fuck,
I love this album so much.
Good.
I used to play. I would play the first Tomb Raider and listen to this. And there's one of the I think it's Spin Sugar.
Yeah.
Where there's like it.
Does that have Six Underground on it too?
Yeah. It breaks down and there's like this woman is vocalizing and she's like and I'm sitting there. Laura Croft goes into a big, thing, and you're like, oh, it's all epic. You may be high a little bit,
Yeah.
D-Light World Clique. This is thinking back on it. This is probably the first house music I ever heard, and I loved it like so much. Like when this came out, it was just like, what the fuck is this?
I keep saying it, but that was a life changer for me too. World Clique. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. And I still like to drop tracks every once in a while.
Oh, same.
Cause like, some of the deeper cuts, like, What Is Love?
Yep.
And, ESP.
Yep.
They're like, those are like, it's like deep house.
Yeah.
And then of course, Information Society.
That one.
And Information Society.
Yeah. God damn.
But I'm a huge Trek nerd. I'm a Trekker.
Yeah.
And this has so much Star Trek on it. And like, I love it when I see the episode that has a little sample on it and you're just like, tee.
Dude, so many of those records, like I could talk for 20 minutes about each memory that ties back to probably at least 3/4 of those.
Yeah. Right? I wanted to go quick, but like I could have brought
those are fantastic.
Massive Attack, and like
Blue Lines and
and I got, even I have classical records.
Yeah.
I have a synth Bach synth one called Bachbusters. Ooh. And it like I had the CD as a kid and it had Toccata and Fugue in D minor in synth and it was awesome. Yeah. Apparently car stereo places used to use it to like show off their subs and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah. It actually has a warning on it about the sub bass.
Man. Oh, I got to come over to your house and dig through some of your wax now. Like that's you really like you hit me in the soul on some of those, man. Like I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. I'm a little bit
I don't stream very often and what I like doing is just pulling a record and then going, seeing what happens from there.
Yeah.
And then try to like make it's almost like word association.
Yeah. God damn. No, good stuff. Well, we're almost at the hour, and I try because I have a very, very, very solid producer. Is there anything else? So any upcoming projects, anything you want to shout out, any people you want to shout out, no pressure.
We have underscore. We coming up later on in the year. We're going to be doing a few nights at Cafe Racer.
Oh hell yeah!
So we had that night. We were trying to get off the ground called Steam.
Yep.
And what we were doing was streaming, and people would come, and if we knew that they were a DJ and would like fit in with the sound, we'd have them come up and play for half an hour or something like that.
Cool.
And the whole idea was going to be to sort of do just let our friends off the cuff be able to play some tracks, and then if the night was making money, we were able to pay a few people a couple bucks, but
sure.
We were doing it for free at the Orient Express. So
right.
It's not going to make that much money. But we're going to try to do something similar at Cafe Racer.
Awesome.
And so that should be a lot of fun. We probably won't stream it, but I would like to video record it but do the same thing where it's like, oh, and now you want to play on a Void sound system? Come on up,
Yep.
Then we got the end of Train Car. We have 4 more months. We're going to announce the remainder here pretty soon. I just need to do the artwork for it.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing we didn't tangent on. But like
right.
you're a pretty dope artist too, visual artist, right?
I try.
Yeah,
I did a lot of photography. I basically could be a photo major if I just finished my gen ed stuff, but and then design. I just started getting into design. I've always, as a kid, I drew a lot, and then when computers came around, I just started doing computer stuff.
Yep.
Like, remember Kai Power Tools Bryce?
Yeah.
The 3D 90s like 3D app that had like all the balls. It would have like balls and tortoises and stuff. You'd see it on on cover art all the time, and I loved that kind of stuff. And just ever since that time, I just have always messed around on the computer. Photoshop.
Got it. Well, you have some cool stuff coming up, potentially Cafe Racer.
I'll be playing Soft Option here.
That's right.
On the 6th.
Okay.
That'll be fun.
That's on the Monkey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing that per 5-year anniversary, Prancing Unicorn. We're going to be playing records
Nice.
from most of what I've started pulling stuff, and DJ Dennis from Selecta Records wanted sort of late 80s, like early house stuff, and so I'm starting to maneuver in that little area, and that's really about all I have coming up. So,
I mean, you're on a good path, man. I was going to ask you, and if you don't have time to answer this, or you can't answer it in a short way, but as far as you go, your future, like legacy, where are you at on all this? You played a lot, you've played out a lot, you've played with a lot of different crews and a lot of different nights. You're super nimble. I've heard a ton of different sort of sets and sounds and themes from you.
I just enjoy the craft, and I would love to get out of Seattle, but I don't necessarily have the time to devote to that path. And so I'm happy to take it if I can get to there. But I'm pretty comfortable just being, I just enjoy my friends understanding what I do and enjoying what I do. And I kind of like being a local DJ.
Yeah.
Who like, my name might not get out there nationwide, but being considered a Seattleite of note or something, it makes me completely happy.
For sure.
I'm not saying that I am that, because
no, man, you bring quality. That's what I'm saying. Like you care about the craft. You bring a lot of quality, and you're very attentive to what the theme and the night and the crew, and it's noticed.
Right. And I just mean like, outside of the people who know.
Right.
Like, I don't know that I'll get much farther out than that, because there's like this weird sort of middle child vibe of being I'm not an old Seattle head, but I'm kind of lumped in with the old Seattle heads.
Right.
And I don't know how that happened, but like, so it's like, I also don't have a problem being lumped in with the old Seattle heads, but then I never got the experience of the old Seattle heads at, through the late 90s and the early 2000s, because I didn't come on the scene.
Dude,
until,
you got Jan Brady on this whole thing, man.
I kind of did. It's like,
Sorry, man.
but it's I've learned in my almost 50 years of life that you are who you are based on what has happened. I would be a completely different person if anything different happened, and I'm pretty happy with who I am. So I have to be happy with what has happened, the good and the bad. Like it's what makes you you. So,
man, well, on that note, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me.
It was a long time coming, and I was just really excited to talk to you. Like, not every guest, but there are certain guests where I know I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours. And
I do feel like we probably could just keep going.
There's a lot to do, but I do want to get you on the decks and see what you're going to play. You're going to play a little vinyl, and you're going to play some digital. So
hopefully I don't bork it up. We'll see.
I think you'll be all right. You kind of know what you're doing. All right, man. Well, thank you. Thank you. And yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon.
feeling like the breeze, easy and free and lovely and me. Oh, when you touch me, I just can't control it. When you touch me, I just can't hold it. The emotion inside of me, I can feel it.
make it. I'm in heaven, baby.
Down the street, some asshole wants to stop me just to give me a flyer. Come on, man. Fuck that. Get the fuck out of my way. Question. Why is it that every time I walk into the fucking bank, the tellers look at me like I'm the one that robbed them last week? Like I'm so fucking hood. Fuck that shit. What the fuck are you looking at? Radio. I hear the same fine fucking song 15 times a day for 3 months.